Good morning. Let's start today. Come to seated on your mat, and we'll start on our backs. So keep the soles of the feet on the mat, lie down onto your back, bring the knees together and the feet wide. And you can either let the hands down by the sides with the palms facing up, or you can bring the hands on the body. So maybe close the eyes and go back and forth a couple of times and see which one feels better. And then stay there. Take a deeper breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Deep breath in through the nose, fill all the way up. Slowly exhale. Last one together like that. And then you'll keep going on your own, finding your own breath rhythm that you can sustain for your practice. And if there's any one thing that you're going to focus on for today's class, maybe it's just the breath. Noticing when you lose track of it, and practicing reminding yourself to come right back and dropping in as quickly as you can back to this breath. Then heel toe the feet closer together so they're more like hip width distance. Extend the legs out in front of you, and the feet are going to be wide, so toward the outer edges of the mat. Reach the arms overhead, get really long. And this right foot, cross it over the left ankle. So keep the left foot where it is. Just cross the right foot on top of the left. You're crossing at the ankle. And then clasp opposite elbows overhead. So you should feel like there's a lot of length on the right side of the body. We'll add to that. So lift the chest and move it over to the left. And you're like a banana. So this is banana asana. That whole right side of the body is getting really long. Both shoulder blades are on the mat. And you're working to keep those clasped elbows gripped. So that way the shoulders are nice and wide on the back and you feel a nice opening across the chest. And maybe even a little stretch in the triceps. So come back through to center with the upper body. Reach, uncross the right leg, just bring it over to the right side of the mat. And now cross the left ankle on top of the right ankle. So both feet are over on the right side of the mat. Notice which forearm's on top. Stretch the arms back behind you and then switch the clasp. So bring the other forearm on top. And here you can start to lift the head and the chest, lean over to the right, however much is comfortable for you. Know that you're going for length. So if you feel like you're taking away space and you've gone too far and you need to back up. And if you're not feeling anything, then go a little farther. But it should just feel like a nice opening now on the left side of the body, trying to create that banana curve. Start to bring the upper body back to center. Uncross the ankles, reach the arms overhead one more time, getting a little bit more length after those stretches, and hug the knees in toward the chest. So here you can rock side to side a little bit. Actually, let's grab onto the knees. So one hand on each knee and just make some circles with the knees. It won't be that big. You'll just go in circles in one direction, and it should feel nice just on the backs of the hips to kind of roll around there on the mat. Give yourself a little bit of a massage, and then switch directions. So take the circles in the other way. And then you'll slowly come back to center. Set the feet down onto the mat. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. And then two options here. You can have the fingers interlaced. You can also take the fingertips and just grab just above the ears, support the head that way. See which one feels better in your mind or in your body. And if you feel like you try one and you want to switch, you can totally do that. So hug the belly in and then look up. Take an inhale where you are. And on the exhale, we lift. Feet are still down on the mat. Inhale back. Exhale up. And you're pressing down into the feet a little bit. It'll help you engage the core. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay looking up the whole time. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Make sure you're supporting the head so the neck can release. Exhale up. One more. Inhale back. Exhale up. If this is enough, stay here. If you want a little bit more intensity, hover the feet away from the mat, making a 90-degree angle with the legs. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Keep squeezing the thighs. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. One more. Inhale back. Exhale up. Stay here. Extend the left leg out in front of you. Twist to the right. Come back to center. Leave the legs as they are. Twist to the right. Same direction. Back to center. Twist to the right. Back to center. Twist to the right. Last one. Back to center. Twist to the right. Come back to center. Knees together. Extend the right leg. Twist to the left. Inhale back. Twist to the left. Inhale back. Twist to the left. Two more. Inhale back. Twist to the left. Last one. And then hug the knees in toward the chest. Rest the head. Now you can rock side to side a little bit. And you can either roll over to one side to bring yourself up, or you can grab the backs of the thighs and start to take some rocks. And if the rocks feel pretty good, maybe you do 3, 5 rocks until you come up to seated. Otherwise, we'll just meet back in a easy cross-legged seat. I'm going to do one more. Great. So once you come to your easy cross-legged seat, Sukhasana, you're trying to cross at mid-shin, toes point forward, get even on the sit bones. So I'm shifting side to side so I can feel nice and even on the sit bones on my mat. And then reach the arms up, get that length. So the hips are going down toward the mat and the fingertips are reaching up. Keep this length, start to fold forward, getting into the hips here. So maybe the fingertips come to the mat. Maybe you use blocks underneath the hands. Maybe you feel like you can fold pretty far forward, but we're just starting. So take it easy, close the eyes. Make sure you're still with the same Ujjayi breath that we started with. You'll slowly start to walk the hands back in, coming back up to seated. Lean back, switch the crossing of the legs, bring the other shin in front. Maybe shift side to side until you feel even. Reach the arms all the way up. Lengthen the whole spine by rooting the hips down and reaching the arms up. And then start to come forward when you're ready. Go slow so you can feel your way through it. Take your time coming into this side and try not to go in the exact same spot as the first side. Just see where it is on this side. Being curious with your own body. Slowly start to walk the hands back in, making your way back up to seated. And we'll now come to all fours, coming into tabletop. Doing some rounds of cat-cow. If you want to turn the hands around, you can. You can turn the hands so that the fingertips face the sides of the mat, or you can turn them all the way around if that feels good in your body so that the fingertips point toward the knees. Shoulders would stack over the heels of the hands. And we'll do cat-cow maybe this way. On the inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. And on the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. And then keep going at your own pace. You can always change the hands back if it gets too intense. But make sure you're spreading the fingers evenly and evenly. One more cycle forward and back. You'll come back to a neutral spine and turn the hands around if you change the direction of the fingertips. Start to walk the hands forward so that you can bring the forearms down to the mat. Once the forearms are down, hands are down, they're shoulder width distance apart. Move the shoulders so they're right over the elbows so that those joints are stacked. And then look forward, hug the belly in, keep the chest lifted so it's still reaching forward, and step the right foot back behind you. Fire up that leg. So you should feel like the outer right hip is working, inner right thigh is working. And then without moving the hips too much, step the left foot back, feet hip width distance apart, and you're in a forearm plank. So sometimes we get light in the hands and the forearms, especially once the legs are engaged. Make sure you're still pressing evenly into the forearms and the hands. And you can see the even spreading of the fingers. They're not too wide, they're not touching. And then you continue to look forward to keep reaching the chest forward. You hug the core in, keep squeezing those inner thighs, and stretch the heels back. So truly using all the muscles throughout the whole body and staying with that same breath that we started with. In and out through the nose, up and down the back of the throat. And from here, we'll take Sphinx pose. So slowly start to lower the hips down to the mat. You can bring the tops of the feet to the mat. Hug the belly in a little bit and start to reach the chest forward. So shoulders still stay over the elbows, chest widens, and shoulders down the back. So those bottom tips of the shoulder blades, it's like they're pushing the chest forward and open at the same time. And then you look down the bridge of the nose to keep lots of space in the back of the neck. And even here, you're pressing down a lot into the hands and the forearms. So they could be light, but let's try not to do that. Keep pressing into the tops of the feet so that the legs don't relax. And you're using so many muscles here throughout the whole body, just like you were in your forearm plank, even though this one doesn't require as much energy. And you'll slowly start to lower down onto your stomach. Hands come back by the lower ribs, fingertips in line with the center of the chest. Hug those outer elbows in. Let's take Cobra. Exhale, release. 2 more of those. If you feel like you want to come up a little bit higher, you can. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale up, Cobra. Exhale, release. Come back to hands and knees. Take child's pose. Big toes together, hips sit back. Arms stretch out way far in front of you as you bring the forehead down to the mat. And let's add some side body lengthening. So look forward at the hands, come up onto the fingertips so the palms lift away from the mat, and walk the hands over to the right. Not a whole lot, just enough to where you can feel the left side of the body get really long. Then you can flatten the palms, bring the forehead back down to the mat between the arms. Left side of the rib cage comes down a smidge and the right side lifts just till you get a little longer. Then look forward at the hands, come back up onto the fingertips, walk it over to the left. You don't have to go that far to feel the length. Then set the palms back down, set the forehead back down. Slight adjustment of the right side rib cage coming down, left coming up. Keep pulling the hips back. Look forward at the hands, tent the fingertips, come back to center with your child's pose. Set the forehead down. See if you can get any more length in the sides of the torso, sides of the waist, as you reach the arms forward. Then look forward at the hands, downward facing dog. Shift forward, tuck the toes, lift the hips. So first downward facing dog, if you want to pedal out the feet or add some movement, you're welcome to. You can also take a wider stance, so wider than hip width distance, or you could put a nice generous bend in the knees. So whatever you can do to maximize length in the spine. And the legs will open up over time, especially if they're tight, and you'll start to find more comfort in the straighter leg variation of downward facing dog. You just don't want to rush it right out of the gate. Right leg lifts up and back. Just bring it up to hip height. Bring the knee in toward the nose. Scoop the belly around the spine. Step that right foot all the way through, coming into a runner's lunge. And for this runner's lunge, we'll set the back knee down. The left foot is going to come over to the right. So bring it to the right side of the mat. So it's kind of like that L shape. And then you'll take the right hand inside of the right foot. Left arm reaches up. So it's like side angle pose, but that back knee is down. And then what's going on with the right shoulder? Make sure it's going down the back and it's not going forward over the top of the mat. And what's nice here is that right arm and the right leg are connected. So you can kind of press them into one another, and that'll give you more space across the chest. It'll also keep that right hip in line with the knee. Left palm can face forward, and you can sweep the left arm up and over the ear. Pinky side of that left hand is down, thumb side is up. From here, keep the legs the way that they are. Just come into warrior two with the upper body. So dig into that right foot, lift the chest up, spread the arms out wide, and you're looking over the right arm. So you're digging down into the right heel the way you normally would, but you'll feel a little different sensation with that back hip. What's nice is it's really easy to not lean forward with the left knee down like this. Keep opening the chest to the left and bring the gaze straight forward. So now you're not looking over the right arm, but you're looking straight forward where the chest is pointing. Bring the hands to the hips, straighten the right leg and turn the toes to face the left side of the mat. So the direction that you're facing. And you can look and make sure that the right heel's in line with the right hip, or the right foot's in line with the right hip. And then from here, right arm slides down the side of the leg, left arm reaches up and over. So getting into that side body once again in gate pose. Come back up to center, hands come to the hips. Turn those right toes back out like you're doing warrior two. And then bring that right hand down inside of the right foot. Left arm reaches up. See if there's any more space across the chest. And then it's a bit of an awkward transition. Left hand comes down, left knee turns around. So you're back in this low lunge. So the left foot's pointing toward the back of the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back leg. Stretch that heel back, reach the chest forward. This should feel pretty good. Then bring the hands to the mat, step back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, glide forward to plank pose, lower all the way down to the mat. On the inhale, come up cobra. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Left leg reaches up and back, heel to hip height. Bring the knee to the nose. Step that left foot all the way through to the top of the mat, runner's lunge. Then set that right knee down. Bring the right toes in. And then from here, left hand inside of the left foot, right arm reaches up. You're back in that modified side angle pose. But we're staying here for a bit. So left shoulder goes down the back. It's not going forward. You're pressing the arm into the leg back into the arm. That's helping you deepen that hip opening a whole lot more. Keep reaching up with the right arm and then turn the right palm to face forward and stretch the right arm up and over the ear. Keep the legs the way that they are. Find warrior two in the upper body, digging into that front foot, lifting the chest, looking over that left hand. Keep opening the chest to the right. Bring the hands to the hips. Look forward, so gaze and chest are in the same direction. Straighten the front leg and turn those toes so that they point straight forward. And then make sure there's plenty of space for that whole leg to be straight. Left hand goes down the side of the leg, right arm reaches up and over. Parikasana. Bring the hands back to the hips. Turn those left toes out again. Left hand inside the left foot. Reach the right arm up, back to side angle pose. Maybe there's a little bit more space this second time around. And then we start to transition back. Right hand comes down to the mat. Left hand outside of the front foot. Turn those right toes back. Back to your runner's lunge, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Maybe you come up onto the fingertips. Hold this lunge, not the breath, for maybe 2 breaths. Plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, glide forward to plank pose, lower down to the mat slowly. Inhale up for your cobra. And exhale, release, downward facing dog. Few breaths in your downward facing dog, noticing the difference in the legs. So it's kind of amazing how much we can open up the legs and the hips with that back knee down. You can do it with the back knee standing, and we'll explore that definitely. But isn't this nice? Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands, coming into your forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. We're doing that 2 more times. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. This time we're coming all the way up. Circle the arms. Bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold all the way back down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, bring the hands to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, your choice, cobra or maybe up dog. Back to down dog. Bending the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, hop, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way back up to standing. Hands come together overhead. Exhale, Bring them down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhaling up for your back bend. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Bending the knees, look forward, hop, step. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way up on your inhale. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. One more cycle, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank. Lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts up and back. Step the right foot through up between the hands. Spin the left heel down flat. You're coming into side angle pose. So right hand can come inside of the right foot. You could definitely use a block. If both of those aren't working, forearm to thigh, and that'll lift the chest a little bit higher. But your hips are pretty open. Maybe see what's happening with the different variation. If it's not, you listen to your body. So finding that same engagement if the arm is down between the arm and the leg. So they're squeezing into one another. And if your hip was going out to the side, you might feel it come in toward the midline. Turn that left palm to face forward and reach that left arm up and over. So now you're really using the left leg. You're reaching that left foot through the floor to reach the left fingertips up and over. So you're getting really long in the whole left side of the body, but try not to lose length in the right side either. Dig into the feet and the legs. You're taking this to warrior two. Go slow. Bring the hands to the hips, straighten the front leg, turn those right toes to face in. So both toes facing straight forward. So they're not really going in. Well, actually, let's bring the heels in and the toes out a tiny bit. Keep the hands on the hips, bend the left leg, straighten the right. So keeping the chest high and the hips like in line with that left knee, or you can even go higher than that. So it's like a really high skandasana. Come back to center, standing up tall, angle on the left toes, turn the right toes all the way out, spread the arms out wide, warrior two. Back to side angle pose, forearm to thigh, or if you're comfortable, bring that right hand down inside of the foot, reach the left arm up. See if there's any more space across the chest. Hands come down to the mat, back to your lunge. You might need to heel toe the feet a little bit wider. And let's add a twist here. So left hand comes down underneath the left shoulder, right arm reaches up. That should feel pretty good. Hug the belly in, open up across the chest. Even here, that left shoulder is going down the back. It's not going forward. Right hand comes down to the mat. Vinyasa if you want one, or maybe you go straight back to downward facing dog. You figure out what your pace and intensity is today. Always customizing your practice for what you need it to be. Left leg goes up and back. Step that left foot all the way through up between the hands. Right heel down flat. Left hand inside the left foot, or take a different variation. Right arm reaches up. Find side angle pose on this side. Find that engagement between the left arm and the left leg if the hand is down. And then make sure you're already using the back leg, reaching that right foot through the floor. Turn that right palm to face forward. Sweep the arm over the ear. See if you can get a little bit longer in both sides of the waist. So it's almost like the right rib cage has to go down to lengthen the left rib cage. Dig into the feet and the legs. Come up to warrior two. Big transition. Hands come to the hips, straighten the front leg, turn those left toes in to face the side of the mat. And then bring the heels in, toes out a little bit. You can keep the hands on the hips, bend the right knee, straighten the left leg. Keep the chest forward, hips pretty high. Come back up to center standing, angle on the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out. Warrior two. Left hand down inside the left foot, right arm reaches up, back to that side angle pose. So revisiting, seeing how it feels. Then find your runner's lunge, widening the feet a little bit. So hip width distance. Right hand underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up, find that twist. Left knee's pointing straight forward. And if it's not, you need to heel toe the left foot out to the left. Left hand down to the mat, step back to plank pose, down dog or vinyasa. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Widen the feet as much as you need to come down into a yogi squat. So you can turn the heels in and the toes out. If you're able to keep the toes forward, that's a lot of hip mobility and go for that. But if not, you're like me, turn the heels in, toes out, bring the hips down between the knees, and then you'll bring the hands together in front of the heart maybe. So what's nice about this is you can keep opening up the knees with the elbows and use that to lift the chest up so you have a nice long spine. Try not to move the eyes. See if you can focus on one thing in front of you. And now you come to the breath. Then bring the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold, come all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, vinyasa or down dog. Right leg goes up and back. Step it through to the top of the mat. Left heel down flat, right hand inside the foot, left arm reaches up, side angle pose. Modify it however you need to. Turn that left palm to face forward, sweep the arm over the ear, make sure you're rooting down for that left leg as well as the right. Up to warrior two, take your time with that transition, using your strength to get there. Straighten the front leg, bring the hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, heels in, toes out. Bend the left leg, straighten the right. Skandasana. You can stay high up with the soles of the feet both down to the mat. If you want to go deeper, you could come down deeper so that it's a side lunge. So the right toes maybe come up, but just keep pulling the right heel in toward the body instead of pushing it away from you. And then keep the chest lifted wherever you are. Come back to hands down in front of you, toes pointing forward, legs straight. Bend the knees, bring the hands to the hips. Left toes angle in, right toes turn out. Warrior two as a transition. Right hand down inside the foot. Left arm reaches straight up, side angle. Back to your lunge. Come onto the ball of the back foot. Widen the feet, hip width distance. Left hand down, right arm up. Find that twist. Right hand comes down to the mat. Step back to plank pose, down dog, vinyasa, you choose. Left foot reaches up and back. Step the left foot through to the top of the mat. Right heel spins down flat. Left hand inside of the left leg. Reach the right arm up, side angle pose. Turn that right palm to face forward. Stretch the arm over the ear. Use both legs. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Bring the hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in so you're facing the side of the mat. Heels in, toes out. Skandasana. Bend the right leg, straighten the left. You come down as deep as you want to. You don't have to go down that deep if it's not happening. You're just trying to find a nice stretch in that back side of the left leg and the right hip. Keep the chest lifted. Hands come down to the mat. Shift back onto both legs, straightening the legs, toes point forward. Bend the knees, hands to the hips. Press yourself up to standing. Angle in the right toes. Turn the left toes all the way out. Warrior two. Left hand down inside the foot. Right arm reaches up, side angle. Hands down to the mat, onto the ball of the back foot. Widen your stance. Right hand down underneath the shoulder, left arm reaches up. Hands down to the mat, vinyasa or skip it to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, widen the feet. We're coming back into Malasana. Toes out if you want. Sink the hips down. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. Keep the chest lifted. And then find that focal point in front of you. Stay with your breath and try not to move the eyes. I was going to say move the mind, which actually works because the reason why we're not moving the eyes is so that we can focus on the breath and control the thoughts, slow them down. Bring the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet, back to hip width distance, come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Bring the hands together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way back down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Vinyasa if you want one on the way to down dog. Right leg goes up and back. Step the right foot forward, up between the hands. Left heel down flat, just like warrior 2 feet. Right hand inside of the right foot. Left arm reaches up, side angle pose. Turn that left palm to face forward. Stretch the left arm over the ear. Dig into the feet and the legs. Bring yourself up, warrior 2. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn those right toes in, heels in, toes out. Skandasana, bend the left leg, straighten the right. Side lunge or surfer's lunge, I've also heard. Hands come back down to the mat, straighten the legs, point the toes forward, put a bend in the knees, bring the hands to the hips, rise up to standing, angle on the left toes, turn the right toes out. Warrior two as a transition. Right hand comes down to the mat, left arm reaches up, open up across the chest, get long on both sides of the torso. Hands down to the mat, widen the feet, heel toe that right foot out to the right, left hand underneath the left shoulder, right arm reaches up for that twist. Then bring the right hand back down to the mat, set the left knee down to the mat, and then see how far back you can shift that left knee. So toes tucked helps. Tuck the toes, shift that left knee as far back as you can. You're probably feeling a really nice stretch, even just doing that. Right hand, right hip, open the chest to the right again. So it's still a nice hip opening, still in a bit of a twist. You can stay here. If you feel like you're open enough, you could bring that back foot in and reach for the foot, stretching the quad and the hips. If you're reaching back and the foot and the hand aren't connecting, just let the foot go and bring the right hand to the right hip. But if they're connecting, grab it, bring it in. Right toes can turn out to the right, just like halfway, and you can roll onto the outer edge of that right foot, opening up the knee. So that just adds it moves the hip opening to a different place, different sensation. And then you'll bring that right knee forward, right toes forward, gently release the back foot and tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step back to downward facing dog. If you really want a vinyasa, take one. Otherwise, hold downward facing dog for 5 breaths. Left leg reaches up and back. Step the left foot through, up between the hands. Right heel spins down flat, heel to heart or heel to heel. Left hand inside the foot, right arm reaches up, find that side angle pose. Turn the right palm to face forward, sweep the arm over the ear. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg, bring the hands to the hips, turn those left toes in, heels in, toes out. Skandasana, bend the right knee, straighten the left. Keep the chest lifted. Hands down in front of the shoulders, shift back onto both legs, pointing the toes forward. Bend the knees, bring the hands to the hips, rise back up to standing, angle in the right toes, turn the left toes all the way out. Warrior two, then side angle pose. Last one, left hand down inside the foot, maybe right arm reaches up, find that space. Hands come down to the mat as you come onto the ball of the back foot. Widen the feet, move the left foot over to the left. Right hand underneath the right shoulder, left arm reaches up. Find that twist. Left hand comes back down to the mat so that you can set the right knee, back knee onto the mat. Keep those toes tucked and see if you can shift that right knee back any farther. And then keep it there. You can untuck the toes if you want to. Left hand, left hip, open the chest to the left. So back in a twist, but now you're getting into the hips a little deeper. Stay here, or maybe you bend the back leg, reach back and see if the foot's there. Turn the left toes, look at the left toes, turn the left toes out halfway and roll onto the edge of that left foot, opening up the knee just a little bit. Knees and toes stay in the same direction. You're still opening the chest. Then turn the toes to point forward, gently release that back knee, bring the hands down to the mat. You might need to heel toe the front foot in a little bit. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Last vinyasa if you want one, and we'll meet back in downward facing dog. Take child's pose, big toes together, knees apart, sit the hips back. And if you want to bring the arms out in front of you, you can, or you can bring them back behind you, whichever one feels better. And start to walk the hands in toward the body. You'll come to seated on the mat. So bring the feet over to one side, extend the legs forward. So if you have a block might be nice. You definitely don't need one if you don't have one, but if you have one, just bring it down by the hips off to the side of your mat and come onto your back. So walk the feet in so the heels are right underneath the knees. And we're coming into bridge pose, but we have the block in case we want to do supported bridge. If you don't have a block, that's fine. You'll do 3 rounds of active bridge. You can even take it deeper if you'd like. So press down into the feet, lift the hips up, either grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to rip it apart, or interlace the fingers underneath you, finding your bridge this way. And if you feel like you want to stay in an active bridge, you can. If you feel like a supported bridge would be really nice, grab that block, place it underneath the sacrum, and keep the work in the upper body. So you're still lifting and spreading the chest up. And the block has 3 heights, so you just find whichever one makes the most sense if you're using it. And if you're in an active bridge, on your next exhale, slowly release. If you're using the block, you stay on the block for all 3 rounds, and that's how you get your back bend in. And then if you're doing an active bridge, press into the feet, come back up, second round. We're all pressing the arms down into the mat, lifting and spreading the chest, digging down into the feet and the legs. One more inhale if you're doing an active bridge. And on the exhale, slowly release the hips back down to the mat. If you're on a block, stay there. Third and final back bend. Stick with bridge. If you feel like you want to take Urdhva and go up to upward facing bow, you're welcome to do that. When you're ready, press down into the feet, lift the hips up, bridge, Urdhva, whatever's calling to you. And then you'll slowly start to make your way down. If you're on a block, lift the hips up, set the block off to the side. We all have the hips down on the mat. And then from here, let's cross the ankles. So you'll need to float the feet up, grab the knees and bring the knees in toward the chest, but the feet are hooked. So you won't be able to, you're just spreading the knees out wide. Knees aren't coming in too close to the chest. And that should feel really good on the lower back. You could even rock side to side a little bit. And then switch the hook of the feet, bring the other foot on top. Set the feet back down onto the mat. Hug the right knee in toward the chest. Extend the left leg out in front of you. And then we'll take our spinal twist this way. So you'll bring that right knee across the body and the chest will go in the opposite direction. So right arm reaches out to the right, right knee reaches over to the left. Come back through to center. You can bring that right knee back into the chest one more time. Then set the right foot down onto the mat. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. Start to extend that right leg out in front of you and cross the left knee over the body this time. Gaze over the left shoulder. Slowly come back onto your back. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. Set the left foot down. Bring the right foot in. So both knees are bent. Roll over to one side and use the hands to bring yourself up to seated. So you can start with the same hip opening that we began class with Sukhasana, crossing at mid shin, toes pointing forward. You could play with double pigeon, might be a good day for it. All you would do is take this front foot and bring it on top of the knee. You'll know right away if it's a bad idea. If it is, you just bring it back down onto the mat. So if that's working, the knees and the feet, knees and ankles are stacked on both legs. So the feet actually go pretty far out in front of you. And if there's a big gap between the knee and actually, this is a good example. There's a giant gap for me between the knee and the ankle. You can just bring the hands back behind you and work toward getting that knee closer. If you have a block or a blanket, you can fill in the gap that way. If you're comfortable folding forward, reach the arms up and come forward, bringing the hands down in front of you and finding your hip stretch on this side. Close the eyes. Stay with the breath. Send it to the hips. So even though we're slowing down in movement, see if you can stay on your mat. It's really easy to wander off. And staying focused on the breath is our best tool for staying present. And that's our practice. We're never going to be perfect at it, but we just keep practicing and we get better at it. Start to walk the hands back in and then back behind you if they're not already. And you'll remember which leg is in front. You'll separate the feet out to the edges of the mat and just move the knees side to side like windshield wipers, letting that go. And we'll transition over to the other side. So other shin in front, starting in Sukhasana first to get your setup. And then maybe this side is easier or tighter. You'll just see. Maybe you take that foot and you bring it so that the ankle's on top of the knee. And then make sure that bottom ankle is right underneath the top knee. And then hands can come back behind you. You can start to move the knees down toward the mat, or maybe you start to walk the hands forward. Fill in any gaps if you want to with that block, blanket, whatever, towel, whatever you have. Close the eyes, breathe into it. Start to walk the hands back in, bring the hands back behind you, or you could use the hands to set that front foot down if you're in double pigeon, and then widen the feet, bring the knees side to side. So feet on the outer edges of the mat as you bring the knees side to side. Come back up to seated, extend the legs out in front of you. One quick seated forward fold, reach the arms all the way up, fold over the legs, let the hands rest on something. Paschimottanasana. Then slowly rise back up to seated Shavasana or a seated meditation. You choose. Get yourself comfortable, whatever you decide to do. Here for a couple of minutes. Take your time getting settled in. Get all the fidgets and wiggles out. Start to let go of your breath control and just be. If you're in Shavasana, start to take a deeper breath in and out through the nose. You'll reach the arms overhead, lying down on your back, walking the feet in, bending the legs. Roll over to your right side, cradle the head in the arm. Keeping the eyes closed if you can, use the left hand to bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, coming into your meditation seat where we'll all join. Taking one last look inside, one last check-in with yourself. Bring the hands together in front of you. Bow the head to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed your practice and it sets you up for the best day or evening ahead.